Would you believe it, there was once a single pound of dyed fabric, worth more than the same weight in gold? And if an ordinary person wore that color, they could be executed. That's item number 7 today. But to understand why it was so insane, we need to start from the beginning. Welcome back to the channel.
MK.
Today, we're not just counting down 7 of history's craziest luxury items. I'll also explain why they were so expensive and how they reshaped entire economies and societies. A few of these facts might make you look at your own kitchen cabinet completely differently. Let's dive in. Item 1. Salt, the white gold that held an empire's fate. Today, a bag of salt costs almost nothing. But for thousands of years, salt was as rare and precious as precious metals. Because before refrigeration, salt was the only food preservation technology that let people survive winters and long sea voyages. The Roman Empire built an entire road called the Via Salaria, Salt Road, just to transport salt from the coast into Rome. Roman soldiers were sometimes said to receive part of their pay in salt, commonly linked to the origin of the English word salary, from salarium. Whoever controlled salt controlled the survival of an army or a city. Many wars and taxes throughout history, including the salt tax that outraged the French population before their revolution, revolved around this seemingly ordinary seasoning. Who would have thought you'd sprinkle an entire Roman army's paycheck on your fried eggs every morning? Item 2. Tulips, humanity's first recorded financial bubble. In the 17th century, the Netherlands was at the peak of its commercial golden age. Tulips imported from the Ottoman Empire became a status symbol among wealthy merchants, especially rare striped varieties actually caused by a virus. Between 1634 and 1637, prices for rare tulip bulbs skyrocketed. So much that a single Semper Augustus bulb could be worth an entire luxury house in Amsterdam. People began mortgaging land and taking on debt just to speculate on contracts for bulbs that hadn't even bloomed yet. This is considered the earliest well-documented speculative bubble in economic history. In February 1637, the market collapsed within days, tulip prices crashed, and countless investors went bankrupt. Modern economists still use this event, Tulip Mania, as a classic lesson in crowd psychology and asset bubbles, a pattern that keeps repeating even in today's cryptocurrency era. Almost 400 years ago, people went all in on a flower. Sound familiar? Item 3. Sugar, a dessert reserved exclusively for royalty. Before the 18th century, cane sugar had to be imported from far away and went through a complex refining process, making it as expensive as rare spices. In medieval and Renaissance Europe, only the nobility could regularly afford to taste it. England's Queen Elizabeth I was famously known for her blackened teeth from eating too many sweets, and surprisingly, many courtiers of the time deliberately dyed their teeth black too, just to look like wealthy sugar connoisseurs. This is a perfect example of how luxury is always relative to its era. Something once a status symbol, sugar-rotted teeth, is now something people pay to avoid, dentistry. Back then, rotten teeth were a sign of wealth. Now braces are the sign of wealth. Society really did a full 180. Item 4. Mirrors, high technology, pricier than a master painting. Before the 16th century, people mostly checked their reflection in water or polished metal, which gave blurry, distorted images. The silvering technique that produced sharp, clear glass mirrors was a closely guarded monopoly of the artisans on Murano Island, Venice, Italy, protected like a state secret. Venice strictly banned mirror-making artisans from leaving the city, and some records even suggest that craftsmen who fled and revealed the secret were assassinated. Thanks to this monopoly, a small Venetian mirror could cost more than a painting by a master artist of the same era. This story shows that luxury sometimes isn't about the raw material, but about monopolizing a technology. That's also why France's King Louis XIV later went to great lengths to recruit Venetian craftsmen. to build the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. Just to see yourself a little more clearly, and it cost a fortune. Even the life of the craftsman who made it. Item 5. Sugar subtleties. Royal wedding gifts made only to be admired, then discarded. In 14th to 15th century Europe, refined sugar was so precious that royal chefs sculpted it into artworks called subtleties, shaped like castles, animals, even mythological figures, to display at royal weddings. A royal wedding banquet could consume enough sugar to equal an ordinary family's fortune. Over many years, just to carve a few sculptures displayed for one evening, before being discarded or divided among guests. This is luxury as pure display. Its value wasn't in usefulness, but in proving power. I can waste something this precious just to decorate one party. Eating it is a waste, not eating it is a waste too. Peak medieval showing off. Not that different from today's fancy wedding cake towers that exist just to be photographed. Item 6. Black pepper. The spice people traded their lives for at sea. Black pepper only grows in tropical South Asia, while the strongest demand for it was in Europe, tens of thousands of kilometers away. Nearly all of 15th to 16th century European maritime exploration was driven by the desire to find a direct sea route to pepper's source, bypassing middlemen. At times, pepper was precious enough to be used as a form of currency to pay rent, taxes, even dowries. Vasco da Gama's voyage around the Cape of Good Hope to reach India, the source of pepper, cost countless sailors their lives to disease and storms. And if you think risking your life over a peppercorn is crazy, the final item is even more extravagant and brutal. Item 7. Tyrian purple. A color pricier than gold, forbidden to commoners. Since ancient Phoenician times, around 1200 BCE, people discovered a small sea snail along the Mediterranean coast, murex, that secreted a purple dye remarkably resistant to fading, unlike plant dyes. Dyeing even a small amount of fabric required tens of thousands of snails, extracting just a few drops of secretion from each, an extremely labor-intensive process with an overpowering smell. As a result, Tyrian purple-dyed cloth was, times, recorded as worth many times its weight in gold. Because of this rarity and cost, ancient Rome passed laws banning its use. Only the emperor and a select few high officials were permitted to wear Tyrian purple garments. Violators could, depending on the era, face severe punishment or even execution. This is why purple remains linked to royalty and power in Western culture to this day. A single color, worth more than a human life, existing solely to distinguish who was allowed to stand above whom. That's the deeper truth behind every luxury in history. It was never about usefulness, it was about who was permitted to own it. From salt, tulips, sugar, mirrors, wedding sugar sculptures, black pepper, to royal purple, these 7 items reveal one truth. Luxury was never really about the object itself, but about who was allowed to own it, and how much people were willing to sacrifice to get it. Which one do you think was the craziest? Drop a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so KE can take you digging into more historical secrets. Bye for now.